If you ask me, the Ford Bronco is one of the best SUVs on the market today. It's practical for everyday use, it's easy to drive, and it's packed full of features for those who need the off-road chops. But as the very proud owner of a Bronco Raptor for the last 2 years or so, the most common question I get asked is this: is the Raptor really worth it? Or should I just buy a regular Bronco and build it up instead? Today, I'm comparing these two vehicles and giving you guys some of my personal experience thus far. And I hope that by the end of this video, you can answer that question for yourself. Let's do it. I take a sip from my Nitto branded Yeti cup here. This thing's awesome. What's up, you guys? Matt McAdam here, AKA Desert Chief, only on Driving Lines Chasing Dust. On today's episode, I am answering a question that I get very often from both prospective Bronco owners who are looking to buy one or current standard trim Bronco owners. And that question is the Raptor really worth it? So first, to set the stage, I'm going to do a quick comparison of the Bronco Raptor and the Bronco Wildtrak, which is currently the most optioned out version of the standard Bronco you can buy today. And then I'm gonna give you guys 3 questions to ask yourself before making the decision on which is right for you. All right, so first we're gonna compare the performance aspect of the Bronco Raptor versus the Bronco Wildtrak. And this seems to be a really high point of contention for people: power, performance. I'm not that big on this, but since a lot of other people do care about that, let's get into it first. On the one hand, you got the Wildtrak with 315 horsepower and 418 foot-pounds of torque. And on the other hand, you have the Bronco Raptor, which has 418 horsepower and 440 foot-pounds of torque. Obviously, with some modifications, you can get that 2.7 liter that comes in the Wildtrak up to right around stock Bronco Raptor territory. But already with just an intercooler, a tune, and an exhaust on my Bronco Raptor, I'm already pushing into the high 400 horsepower range. Now, don't get me wrong, the 2.7 EcoBoost is a great motor. The Broncos are doing fine with it. Some of them had issues early on, but otherwise, there really isn't a lot of problems with it, and it's very tunable. So regardless of what anybody out there says, I don't care how badass of a Bronco build you've got, you're never gonna have that 3-liter EcoBoost that the Raptor's got. You're probably gonna be stuck at best with the 2.7 liter EcoBoost, or at worst, the 2.3 liter inline 4. Both reliable motors, but as of now, there's not enough aftermarket support to get you to the power numbers that the 3-liter EcoBoost is capable of. Now, our next comparison is the most important one to me, and that is the suspension. Now, the current Bronco Wildtrak comes with the Haas 3.0 suspension, which features the 2.5 internal bypass Fox shocks, and it clears 35s, which is probably good for most people out there. But on the other hand, you have the Bronco Raptor, which comes with the Haas 4.0 suspension, and that is a complete game changer. Mainly due to the fact that you get the 3.1 inch diameter Fox live valve shocks on the Haas 4.0. I could make an entire video about the Bronco Raptor suspension and how well it does, but I just want to really emphasize how much of a difference having live valve shocks on an off-road vehicle has been for me. Some of you guys out there might think it's a little bit gimmicky to have like a button on your steering wheel that changes your valving of your shocks, but if you have any real-world experience actually driving a well-tuned long travel suspension, you'll know exactly when and where that live valve really shines. Now, of course, you can always install a long travel suspension with upgraded shocks to get that increased wheel travel, that wider stance on your Bronco Wildtrak. But the live valve shocks on the Bronco Raptor are tied into the computer of the car, which means that you will never be able to retrofit live valve onto a regular Bronco. Next up, we're talking about drivetrain. This is one that a lot of people overlook because it's really nothing that's sexy, doesn't look very different from what's on the Bronco Raptor versus the Bronco. But I will tell you, a huge benefit of having a Bronco Raptor is that it comes with a more beefed up drivetrain. Now, with the Wildtrak, you have the Dana 44 rear axle, you have the Dana 44 standard front drive unit, which really isn't bad if you're leaving the stock tire size on there, which is a 35. But the Bronco Raptor has got a Dana 44 Advantech front differential, and it's got a Dana 50 rear axle. The larger ring and pinion and the heavy-duty housings that come on the Bronco Raptor's drivetrain is what makes it a perfect match for the 37-inch tires that it comes with. So, if you're gonna buy a regular Bronco and your plan is to put a larger tire on it like a 37, just know that you are on borrowed time driving around on that stock Wildtrak drivetrain, especially if you plan to wheel it pretty hard. Okay, next up, we're gonna talk about steering. Now, this is a huge point of contention for people, given the Bronco's short but pretty dark history of having steering issues. I did make a video covering some of these steering issues and ways to avoid them, so if you want to watch that, click the link up over here. Nowadays, the aftermarket has come out with some solutions to address the Bronco steering problems. However, the Bronco Raptor and now the Bronco Wildtrak actually has Ford's upgraded performance steering rack. So in this aspect, the Wildtrak and the Raptor are actually pretty similar. You're probably not gonna break your steering on a Wildtrak or a Raptor if you're driving smart and everything is in good working order. But if your plan is to build up a non-Wildtrak Bronco, just know that you're at a bit of a disadvantage with that lower trim steering rack, and that you should put in your budget for aftermarket modifications to upgrade the steering rack at some point, along with the tie rods. For all you bougie guys out there, let's compare some of the luxuries of the Bronco Raptor to the Bronco Wildtrak. Now let's not kid ourselves, the Bronco Raptor is nearly a $100,000 car. So you should expect that it actually comes with some luxury features and creature comforts that you won't get in the lower trim models. Some of the standard features that you get on the Bronco Raptor are heated seats, a heated steering wheel, exhaust cutout valves that allow you to make the car louder or quieter with a touch of the button. There's 3 steering comfort levels. There's a really cool Raptor button that you can press that changes all your settings to a preset that you created. There's also some unique Raptor branding around the interior in the infotainment screen on the gauge cluster. And of course you get the Raptor specific running boards that you don't get on the other Broncos. Now, if you're ordering and waiting for your Bronco, of course, some of these things can be added on to your build. But most of these items are specific to the Raptor and you can't get them on the lower trim levels. This was especially important for me because it is my only vehicle and I want to have something that's comfortable to drive around every day that has all the features that I need. Now, this may seem a little bit trivial, but I need to mention tire size comparison between the Bronco Wildtrak and the Bronco Raptor because it is so incredibly important to both of these vehicles. For some reason, and I really don't know why, a lot of people tend to just overlook the size of tire that comes on their stock vehicle. Now here is why that is a big mistake. Ford engineered everything on the Bronco Raptor around a 37-inch tire. The engine and transmission are tuned for a 37. The axles and the drive shafts are built to withstand 37s. The steering was designed to withstand the abuses of wheeling on a 37-inch tire. The suspension was tuned for the unsprung weight of a 37-inch tire. Even the track width is proportional to the 37-inch tires, which gives you more stability when you're driving off-road. And heck, even the ugly fender flares that everybody wants to complain about, well, guess what? They're perfect for fully cycling a 37-inch tire. So what's my point? The Wildtrak and the lower trim model Sasquatches are all built for a 35 or a 315 tire. As soon as you put a bigger tire on it, you're now essentially throwing away all that engineering, which is going to lead you to constantly have to chase that next weak link. Now, this goes for almost every vehicle out there, including the Bronco Raptor. I see guys that put 39s and 40s on them, and then they start blowing fenders off and their suspension doesn't work as well. And the fact is that there are a lot of aftermarket options out there that will help you actually beef up the rest of the truck to handle the size tires that you want to put on it. But don't make the mistake of thinking that you can just go buy a Wildtrak and put a lift on it and then you can put 37s or 38s on it and just be on your merry way. It's not going to work like that. You're going to have to do a lot more to make sure that it can handle those bigger tires. Or you could just buy a Bronco Raptor that's already got big old 37s on it and change them like I did to the Nitto Trail Grappler so you can get extra performance, extra grip, and a way better looking tire. And then you can go to sleep at night peacefully knowing that the rest of the car is built to handle them. Last on the comparison is resale value. Ooh. Now this is something that most people don't actually think about when they're buying a new vehicle, but here's why you should. First, I want to say the new Bronco's been out for a couple of years now, and it's already showing that its resale value is better than most SUVs out on the market. But then you have the Ford Raptor that's been around for a lot longer than the 6th gen Bronco, and it has proven to retain its value better than its counterpart. So using that same logic, a Bronco Raptor will over the years retain more of its value than the standard Bronco will. And guys, this is especially important right now when a lot of dealerships are charging a markup on top of MSRP for your vehicle. So if your plan is to just buy a Bronco, throw a bunch of aftermarket parts at it, drive it around for a couple of years, and then once it becomes obsolete, go out and buy the new model year, you'll probably be better off buying a more capable stock Bronco Raptor, stylizing it the way that you want, and then after a few years, selling it for more resale value than you would a standard Bronco. Just something to think about. So with all that said, how do you know if the Raptor version of the Bronco is what's right for you? The first question you should ask yourself is, do you actually like working on vehicles? Do you enjoy actively turning wrenches to customize your car to make it look like something other than stock? Maybe I'm just getting old and my bones are hurting a little more these days, but I actually enjoy driving and adventuring with my 4x4s more than I do working on them in the driveway or spending every weekend installing parts or even the downtime of having a shop install all of them for me. But if you actually really like working on your car, then the standard Bronco is a great platform because there's a really healthy aftermarket full of all kinds of parts and accessories to help you customize it to make it your own. But if you're looking for something that is ready to go out of the box, you drive it out of the dealership and you head straight for the trail, the Bronco Raptor is a perfect match. Question number 2, what is most important to you? What are your priorities? The top 3 priorities for me out of that comparison list we just went over are suspension, power, and comfort. And the Raptor checked all those boxes for me, so it was an easy decision. And finally, the last question you should ask yourself is, do you care about your warranty? You can throw 20, 30, 40, 50, even $100,000 in aftermarket parts onto a Bronco build to get it up to the level of performance of a Bronco Raptor. But here's the kicker, not one single part is going to be covered under your factory warranty. I know it's a bit of a touchy subject, but there's just something magical, really, about having a fully capable, ready out of the box vehicle straight from the dealership floor. And I know that you guys probably have some guy that works at a dealership service department that warranties all the things on all your crazy builds. I got one of those guys too. But ultimately, it is not that guy's decision to warranty your vehicle. That is going to be a decision that's made far higher up on the actual corporate level. And if it comes down to that, I didn't want to leave myself vulnerable to a big, massive failure because it is my only vehicle. It's my daily driver. What I love most about the Bronco Raptor is that right out of the gate, it actually looks customized. But then I can go add some really cool styling stuff like wheels and tires and lights and really make it unique and make it my own while still retaining the most impressive factory off-road features that are all covered under a warranty. Well guys, I hope this video was helpful for you if you have a Bronco or you're looking at buying a Bronco and you're seeing Bronco Raptors driving around town or you're seeing them on social media and you're just wondering if it's really worth it. What was important to me and how I wanted to actually build and drive my vehicle, the Bronco Raptor just checked too many boxes to ignore. So that's ultimately what I ended up with, and that might be different for you, but I hope that this video helps you narrow that down a little bit more. My only ask is that if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to Driving Line. I'm doing a lot more off-road videos. If you're a Bronco enthusiast, I have one, so I'm doing a lot of videos about Bronco stuff. If you guys have any specific questions regarding the Bronco Raptor or some of the differences between the Raptor and the Wildtrak or the lower trim models, I'm happy to answer them. Just drop them in the comments below. But as always, you guys, I appreciate you following along. My name is Matt McAdam, aka Desert Chief, and you're watching Chasing Dust. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button and we'll see you guys next time.